Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, talking all things Tottenham with me, Kieran. In this video today we're going to be talking about tonight's game against Dinamo Zagreb in the last 16 of the Europa League. For tonight's game we'll be playing at home. When the draw was done for this round of 16 we were actually due to be playing the first leg away, but Arsenal were also drawn away, so what has happened there is they've had to move us, and because Arsenal get priority in Europa League competition because of their previous, it just so happens that we are now playing at home first and they are playing away, because you aren't allowed two teams to be playing in the same city on the same night, which would have happened for the second leg. We both would have been playing in London, so that has meant that we've been moved. For some fans, I did hear that it was a negative. Other fans have seen it as a positive. Now, my view on it is that it's a positive, because it does mean before we play that crucial derby against Arsenal, we don't have to do any travelling, albeit Croatia isn't far away. It's less than a 3-hour flight for Zagreb, whereas Arsenal are having to make near on a 5-hour journey to Greece, and they're obviously going to have to come back, and depending on what time their flight is, depends what time they get back in the morning or whatnot, whether they stay overnight. There are some fans that have seen this as a negative, and I can understand why, because from a competition perspective, it's always better to have the home leg second, because you have home advantage, and if you haven't performed well in the first leg, you go back home with that advantage, knowing exactly what you have to do. But, seeing as there's no fans in the stadium, I don't think it affects things too much. We've seen in the Premier League that there's been plenty of crazy results this season. So I'm fairly confident that playing home first is actually the best thing for us. In Europe, we're playing well, and, our depth in squad has been good in the Europa League. Some of our fringe players that don't get many minutes in the Premier League have performed really well in the Europa League. So I'm confident that playing home first is the best thing for us, especially going into such a crucial game against Arsenal in a few days' time. So as always, we'll just talk about the team news, and for us there is no Celso. He has had a setback, which I'll talk about in a bit, from Jose's press conference, and no Joe Rodon, which we know about because he's not in the Europa League squad. Jose didn't change any of the players from the previous squad into the knockouts because he didn't think it would be fair. So for us, they're the only two that aren't involved. Everybody else is fit and will travel with the squad. If we look at head-to-heads between us and Dinamo Zagreb, there has only been one, and that was the 2008-9 season, where we beat them 4-0 and Darren Bent got that hat-trick. However, if we talk about Dinamo Zagreb in Europe, they obviously have a decent amount of European pedigree. They qualify, through their league position pretty much every single year. They don't always make it through the group stages or, the qualifying in phases, but they do have good European pedigree. So the good news for us, of their last 10 games against English opposition, Zagreb have actually lost 9 of them. And the one that they did get a victory in, which will make us all smile because we love them so, it was against Arsenal in the 2015 Champions League group game, and they beat them 2-1. If we talk about their current form, Zagreb in all competitions have actually won their last 8, so they are on a good run at the moment. Their in-form players include Mislav Orsic, who is a left winger for them. Then up top they have Bruno Petkovic. He's actually scored 4 in his last 7 in the Europa League. And then obviously their captain, Arajan Ademi, and he is their defensive midfielder. So they're the players to look out for, the ones that may cause us the most problems in this game tonight. If we look at ourselves, we know as fans where we've been in the Europa League this season, but I just want to talk about our strikers. Will we see Harry Kane start tonight? Possibly. And if he does, if we talk about his European run at the moment, he has scored 28 goals in his last 33 across the Europa League and the Champions League, and then he's scored 7 goals in his last 6 games. So that's great goal scoring form from him. But on the flip side, if he does decide to go with Vinicius, that's not going to be a problem for us either, because this is the competition where he's had the most minutes and where he's actually shone. And he has 6 goals in his last 7 Europa League games. So does it matter which striker he goes with? Not really. They are both in good form when it comes to European competition. If we now move on to Jose's press conference, then after that we will talk through Davinson Sanchez's press conference. So starting with Jose, straight away in with the team news, which I've covered. Obviously, Gio's not going to be ready, and Rodon is obviously not in the squad. So with Gio, we thought he would be back, at least in some capacity, for today's game. But what's happened, he's had a little bit of a setback. So it's not the same injury. Jose said that, where he's been back training and stuff, he's felt a few little niggles and pains. He's actually suffering with a little bit of back pain. So his injury problem has gone, but this is sort of like a little niggle, a little setback, but he shouldn't be out for long, and we should see him pretty soon. Jose was asked about if this competition is a priority for Spurs. Now, we know Jose loves to say we take things one game at a time, and he reiterated that again. There isn't a single competition that is going to take priority for him. The only priority is to win the next game. We could finish in the top four, we could finish out of the top four, we could win this competition, we could get knocked out. And the way he was talking about it was, if we get knocked out, it's because we've been beaten by better opposition. If we don't finish in the top four, it's because all the teams around us were playing better. Not because we were performing badly or anything like that. He thinks we're playing well. It will be because teams have been playing better, or from the position we're in, the other teams have just continued to pick up more points. So Jose was asked about his thoughts on whether we have an advantage over Arsenal going into the North London derby, because we're playing at home whilst they're playing away in Greece. You could think that there may be some sort of advantage because we're not having to do all the travelling and they are. But interestingly, he flipped that, and he said that when we played the North London derby before, the home game that we did beat Arsenal 2-0 in, with Harry Kane and Son scoring the goals, they played against Rapid Vienna. That was a home game. And we played away against Lask in the cold. We landed back at 3 o'clock in the morning in London, and obviously went on to beat Arsenal 2-0. So he said, is there an advantage? Because clearly Arsenal had the advantage before in terms of freshness and no travel, but it didn't make a difference. We still managed to beat them, and it could happen the other way around this time. They could beat us. So there is arguments for and against. It took a while, considering this was meant to be a press conference about the upcoming game. It genuinely took a while for any questions to be about the game. Previously we've had the questions about players, the North London derby, and there was a question in there about Gareth Bale. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of getting sick and tired of the questions about Gareth Bale. They're all talking about, his form and why it took him so long and things like that. If any of you watching this are journalists, stop asking questions about Gareth Bale. Because Jose has reiterated many times, very talented player, hasn't had a lot of game time, has had injuries, needs to trust his body, they're in constant communication. What more do you want, guys? The only interesting thing that came from that question about Bale was that they talk to each other from the side of the pitch. Now, Jose had said this before, that they talk to each other, but he pointed out that the fourth official was actually having a chuckle to himself because he could hear Gareth and Jose talking, saying, how long do you think you've got left? Another 5 minutes, another 15 minutes, yada, yada. But, can we stop the questions about Gareth Bale now? Look, we know he's in form. We know it's taken time. He's got to trust his body. They're in constant dialogue. End of. That is going to be the same answer every time the question's asked, because nothing has changed. Back to what I was talking about before the Bale rant. The question about the Europa League game, somebody was asking about Dinamo Zagreb being an underdog, and would it be almost like an embarrassment to be knocked out of the competition by them? And Jose's answer was, fairly simple. They play European competition every year, not just the Europa League. They've played in the Champions League. They finish either top or very close to in their league pretty much every single season. They've got good players, a good defence. They are good on the counter-attack. They are in a really good run of form at the moment. I said they've won their last 8. They've also won their last 5 in the Croatian league. And they didn't have the easiest groups in the Europa League. CSKA Moscow, Feyenoord, Wolfsberger, who we ended up knocking out of the competition. So they didn't have an easy group. Then they played Krasnodar, and as we all know, Russian competition, they are difficult teams to beat. I know it's not the best league in the world, it's not in the top 5 certainly, but Russian teams are never easy to beat, and it doesn't matter which of them ends up playing in European competition, whether that be Champions League or Europa League, they've always been difficult for teams to beat because they are just solid defensively. And they normally have quite quick wingers and attackers. That's just how most of the teams set up. So, they would have had a hard job to beat Krasnodar. So they're worthy opponents. And Jose said at this stage of the competition, in the knockouts, there is no such thing as an underdog. And I agree with that. Because in knockout competitions, as you know, anything can happen. We see it on all levels, whether that be Champions League, Europa League, upsets in FA Cup, League Cup, the giant slayings, and even in international competition. And that's just the way knockout football goes. There are no underdogs when it comes to these stages of the competitions. They fought their way through the groups. They deserve to be here. And Jose said, they will be tough competition. And it will. It'll be a difficult game. Not just the home leg, but the away leg. I mean, the run of form we're in is very good. We are scoring a lot of goals, and we may be too much for them. But they will create chances. So Jose was also asked about Daniel Levy, about their relationship, how they work together, and, the fact is Daniel Levy has been in charge of us for 20 years now. And Jose didn't really give a proper answer. He said he didn't feel like he could. All he said is that he has the utmost respect for him and that he's, done a good job. But if we talk about Levy from our perspective, 20 years, that's a long time for him to have been in charge of the club. And from where we were when he took over to where we are now, hands down, he's been a great asset to the club. I know plenty of us would have demanded more success and yada yada. But when you consider that we were sort of like a mid to 14th in the league, that was pretty much consistent positions for us. And look where we are now. We've clawed our way up. We've played in Europe constantly. We had a good run in the Europa League. We then have upgraded ourselves to the Champions League. We've had title fights, which I didn't think we were ever going to see again. So the guy's taken us far. Financially, we've been sound. We always make profit from our players. He always gets players a lot cheaper than, what clubs are asking for. Yes, there have been some big sales over the years. We were all heartbroken to see players like Dimitar Berbatov leave when he did. Luka Modric leave. Gareth Bale. He does have a tendency to sell these players, but the thing is, sometimes you have to sell these players whilst the market's hot. We don't sign these players for a lot of money. It's a big profit, and then the money is reinvested. Not always wisely. Gareth Bale money, we didn't do too great out of that. Lamella's still at the club. Christian Eriksen did do wonders for us. There was a few flops in there, but all in all, we normally do good business. He's quite sensible. Financially, we're sound. Look at the stadium we've got now. It's probably the best stadium in Europe, at least. I haven't been all around the world and seen the stadiums, but in terms of football stadiums, every manager, every player, American football players have been here because it doubles up as an American football pitch. They've all been so impressed with the stadium. I'm a season ticket holder and sit in the South Stand, and it's absolutely incredible what we've done with the place. So on a whole, 20 years in charge, Daniel Levy has done really well. Also this season, Jose will be in charge of his 1,000th game. Now that's a massive, massive milestone as well for a manager. He's been very lucky in the sense that he's won titles, won many trophies. So if you think about that, Daniel Levy 20 years, Jose Mourinho 1,000 games in charge at the top level. It's kind of got trophy written all over it in some sense. We're already in a cup final. We could get our way to the final in a run in this competition. We could finish in the top 4. But if 2 people deserve a trophy, it's them. For the hard work that they've put into football over the years, the way Levy has elevated our club. And we as Spurs fans definitely deserve a trophy. So, fingers crossed that we manage to get over the line in these competitions. But this could be our year. And talking of a trophy, Jose has said it'd be wrong to judge Daniel Levy by the lack of trophies that he's won because there are many more things included. He's built the club to where it is, but It's not him that brings the trophy. You can bring in the best players, you can bring in the best managers, but they have to do the work on the pitch. And there has to be things surrounding the club, the whole way the club is run, affect whether we win these trophies or not. So we say Daniel Levy hasn't really done enough. He has. He's brought us managers. Each manager gradually has got better than the next. We're bringing in better players. We are paying better wages. We have this stadium. So I think Mourinho's right to say that, you don't have to win trophies to be labelled as a great chairman. All you have to do is keep a club progressing, keep them financially viable. And he's done that for us. But, he said trophies are the salt and pepper of these competitions. That's what people really take notice of, how many trophies you've won. And for the type of club that we are now and the way we've progressed, you would expect that we would win more trophies. I mean, once upon a time, we were actually considered a cup team. We've had a lot of success in the League Cup. We've had decent success in the FA Cup, European competition back in the days. So it would be nice for cups to start returning to our trophy cabinet. Sanchez was also interviewed. It was nice to see him out there. He was asked about our season so far, like our current form, how it's turned round. Davinson said that we actually started the season off very well, which we did. We were top of the league for a short period of time. Then the form started to dip. But he did mention the fact that, we're in lots of competitions, we've played a lot of games, and we have to accept that genuinely has taken a toll. As well as the pandemic, no fans, lots of contributing factors. But the form has now turned again, and we are on a nice winning run, which hopefully we can keep going. He was also asked about becoming a parent. So for those of you that don't know, Davinson Sanchez actually became a father about 5 months ago. And he was asked how that sort of affected him and whether, it's affected his game or training and things like that. And Davinson has said no, it hasn't affected him. He's very happy to become a father, but it hasn't affected him in any way in terms of, his effort levels, his training, which is, great for us to hear. He was asked if this Europa League is important for us as it's a possible route to being in the Champions League next year. And unlike Jose, who always says, game by game, and most of the players reiterate that as well, Davinson did say, it is an important competition. It is a route to Champions League football. And it's an important competition for Davinson in another sense, because in the 2016-17 season, when he was still at Ajax, he actually came up against Manchester United in the Europa League final, and they did lose, and the manager at the time was Jose Mourinho. And he was saying that, when you lose a competition, it gives you the motivation to want to go on and win it more. So in that sense, yes, this competition is important. Us as fans, we know it's important. We want Champions League football next year. We don't care how we get it. We just want to be back in the Champions League. Another question he was asked was about coaches and how they make players better. So he was asked if Jose Mourinho has made our players better. Now that's a question, even if Davinson doesn't think it's true, that he's obligated to say yes. What kind of player is going to sit there and say, no, this manager's come to the club and hasn't made any of us better. We're all exactly the same players as we were under Maurizio Pochettino. Of course the answer is going to be yes. But in a way, he has made them better players, because under Pochettino, that pressing style of football that we had kind of dropped. And I know we've conceded sloppy goals through individual errors, but in terms of shape and pressing, I feel like we're starting to get that back. In the last few games, we've seen us pressing a lot more, mainly due to Lucas Moura's relentless energy over the course of the pitch, hunting down everything like a hungry dog. And probably the best part of the interview was a question about the Welsh Mafia. Now, as we know, the Welsh lads in our group have created the Welsh Mafia. There was a video during training where Gareth was trying to teach Ben Davies how to do the Welsh Mafia sign. And it's created a bit of banter around the club. Like, if anyone watches the training videos, the players seem to be fairly happy, joking about and whatnot. The players seem to have very good relationships. I'm sure that's the same in most clubs because they spend a lot of time together. But the question just brought a smile to Davinson's face. So it's obviously something that they're talking about a lot in training, having fun with. He did say that the French lads have started to create something. He didn't say what they were called, but yeah, the French guys have got something going on. And for those of you that haven't seen Lucas popping up, he wants to be involved. The Welsh Mafia have recruited Sonny, like you've seen him celebrating with Gareth in the games. But yeah, Lucas wants to get involved. And there was an interview at the end of one of the games where Gareth had done the celebration and you had Lucas trying to edge his way in. And Gareth like nudges him out the way. So the story behind that is Gareth was saying that they have the Welsh Mafia and Lucas has decided to start his own one. And they were like, well, what's that called? And he's like, Lucas. So it's not like the Brazilian Mafia or anything like that. It's just called Lucas. And in the last few games, you've actually seen Lucas do it a few times. And there was a bit where he was sort of like over the ad boards at the side, hunched over. And then he just turns to the camera and bang, Lucas, and walks off. So he's trying to worm his way into that. I don't know whether he wants to be part of the Welsh Mafia or he's just decided he's just going to go solo with Lucas. But, you know, anything that keeps our boys smiling and in good spirits, we're all for. So that really wraps up the main portion of the video. We expect changes because Jose did say there will be changes. He didn't say if there'll be a lot. Will Kane be on the bench? Will he start? I should imagine he's going to go with a fairly strong team. You'd expect maybe Ndombele to come back in the side because he was on the bench in the last game, which means Winks could then drop out. But then on the flip side, that could mean Højbjerg is going to get a rest because I feel like they are just rotating players that need a rest, but only, you know, one at a time. So you take one out, but we don't lose too much quality by taking a few out. So Højbjerg may drop to the bench, which could mean we see Tanguy and Sissoko or Tanguy and Winks, which might explain why Winks got some minutes in the last game just to see where he's at. Changes in midfield. Lucas may have a rest, so we could see Lamela come back in. Will Gareth start again? Will Dele come in? I don't know. And defensive partnerships. He's kept, obviously, Toby and Sanchez together for the last 3 games. So will he then break that up and maybe play Dyer with one of the other two? Or will we see Tanganga? Is Aurier going to come back in, seeing as Doherty's had, you know, a couple of starts in a row? Will Reguilon start on the left? Will it be Ben Davies? Will it be Hugo in goal? I don't know. I genuinely don't know what sort of side he's going to put out. He has promised there will be changes, but it will be strong. So there you have it. Let me know your predicted lineups below. Let me know who you would actually like to see start. And some score predictions. Now, as we're at home and in high scoring form, I'm going to predict a 3-0 victory. Let me know what you think below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your score predictions? Who do you think's going to score? So that's it, guys. Look forward to tonight. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. And as always, come on, you Spurs. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me for that video. And as always, if you enjoyed, please support it with a like. It really means a lot. Turn on the bell notifications so you're notified when the next video goes live. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Come on, you Spurs.